Are we live? I think we are live now. What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here. It is a date in May. It is Thursday. It has been a long day. And, well, the studio is kind of a mess. But I figured it would present an interesting opportunity for us today. And that would be to answer some questions that a lot of you out there have been asking me as it pertains to how exactly do you do all this? What goes into making a demo? What goes into producing video content? And, well, just in general, what the heck do you do? So we're going to talk about that today. I'm on the phone right now, so I can't see 100% on who's joining in, but I know I got my usual suspects of Brian, I think I saw in there. I know I saw Ben, and I know I saw Albus. Aaron, what's going on, buddies? Thank you so much for joining in again. We got 5 people watching right now. So essentially what I'm going to do for you guys today is take you on a tour. Dwight in the house. What's going on, my friend? Brian Landreth is indeed in the house. So I'm going to take you guys on a little tour of my home studio where I do, everything for the channel and a lot of other things as well. Yes, I am on a selfie stick today because I am that technologically inclined. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through the whole setup here at the house. We're going to just kind of take it easy. If you guys have some questions, please do put them forward. I am happy to answer them. And we're going to start here on the landing. Now, as you can see behind me, Jeff Buckley's looking over my shoulder. Got an acoustic guitar hanging on the wall that belonged to my father-in-law. Got that after he passed, and we decided to keep it in the house. And then there's stuff out here. So I'm going to turn the camera around. So this is basically where everything sort of starts here in the studio. As you come up the stairs of my house, we have this little landing, and down this hallway is where everything happens. Now, because the rooms of my studio are kind of small, I actually have to move a lot of stuff out here onto the landing. I have a small pedal board here with a bunch of stuff that I've already demoed but have been using pretty regularly. I have my normal desk chair, which has seen some better days, but, I can't really afford to replace right now. A nylon string acoustic guitar, bunch of other stuff. There's some boxes over there. Wonder what that is. Anyway, Jeff Buckley greets us in addition to some guitar art from Bed Bath & Beyond and all that good stuff. This is a pretty cool little Michael Jackson Thriller art print. Very, very cool. Aaron, if you want to send me a new chair, hey, send me a new chair. I'll be happy. So let's go into this first room. This is sort of the green room. Obviously, it's painted green. And this is the ISO room. As you can see, my orange PPC 212 cab in here, mic'd up with an all-time classic of a Shure SM57. Now, turn it back around, and we're going to talk about this guy right here, this big old brown baffle. It is called a gobo, and it is movable, it is portable, and essentially what this allows me to do is it's blocking the sound waves from hitting the wall and going into the corner. It's isolating them a little bit more. It does help with some noise issues as well, say, case in point, like these windows. Now, we did replace the windows throughout our entire house to have double pane glass, which theoretically should give us more noise rejection from the outside world, but sometimes that's not always the case. So I have the gobo blocking where the mic is set up, in addition to a moving blanket just draped over an armchair, so that we can get a little bit more isolation. It's really rough and tumble. It's not anything terribly fancy, because most of what I do is all about DIY and making anything work for you. But I have recorded so much stuff in this room. I've recorded drums in this room. I've recorded bass guitar in this room. I've recorded vocals, guitars, obviously, in this room. All the treatment on the walls, this is something interesting. So this is carpet. Just plain low-profile carpet that you would put on, say, some stairs that we decorated with some fake leaves. There's actually another layer of cardboard behind this to further deaden sound. And essentially all this is doing is this is absorbing high frequencies. That's what most of this stuff is doing. We did run pink noise throughout the whole room to kind of strategize as to what we were going to be putting up on the walls. So these longer panels tend to absorb some of the higher frequencies, some of the higher frequencies. And then I've noticed that these are just acoustic foam panels. They're nothing fancy, covered in burlap here. This is actually a material that we ended up using for the curtains that cover the closet over there. And these, you know, they get some of the larger high frequency waves, because the way a sound wave works is they each have a different size of the crest and the trough. So the idea is you have multiple different abilities to catch those offending frequencies with different thicknesses of the foam and the sort of, I guess I could say insulation, because it's technically like insulation. That's not entirely the case. Now the floor is just laminate hardwood, but we do have this rug that does kind of help tame some of those high frequencies, but it's also just a nice and easy platform to keep things from sliding around on the floor too much. Those are just windows, curtains. The curtains definitely help deaden high frequencies and catch reflections, as do the curtains on the closet. Now, behind door number 1, this tends to be where the pedal collection lives. Anything that I end up keeping from demos tends to go in this closet. I'd stick you all the way in, but then you wouldn't be able to see anything. You can hardly see me as it is. The lighting in this room is not very good. We also keep a drum set in there, other paraphernalia, some other microphones in here, a keyboard, some other pedals that I've demoed. All our mic stands go over in that corner right there. But yeah, pretty low tech. Nothing terribly special about it. The idea being that when we were teaching lessons, our lesson company was called Land and Sea Music. So this is land, the next room is sea, and that's the room that you see more often than not, because it's the room I'm always sitting in. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera around, and we are going to head into the blue room, the sea room. And there it is. It gets really, really hot in here. So I have a desk fan blowing some cool air from the rest of the house so that this fan starts to push it around. And this is much better lighting, as Dwight said. Brian, I saw your comment. I'm gonna have to get back to that in a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna turn the camera around and extend out this selfie stick a little bit. Really don't enjoy this all that much. And so this is basically what I end up feeling, what I end up seeing. As you can see, it's kind of a mess in here. And there's a reason it's a mess, because half the time when you're recording these demos, there's just so much that you have to keep track of, but you have to keep you more so have to keep focus on what the task at hand is. So you're not worried too much about the neatness of, you know, the floor around you. As long as it's not on camera, then it's fine. So how exactly does this all go? Well, I'm sitting on just a little IKEA stool. I have some pillows on it, to keep my behind nice and comfortable. And then, you want to see what I see every time I make a demo? This is what I get to look at the entire time. 2 big old light boxes going right in my face. One higher, one kind of like head level. My main camera is somewhere in that mess. There it is, right there. This is what I got to look at for 6 to 8 hours a day. So by the end of the time of a shoot, I'm practically blind. Dude has to see spots. Indeed, I have to see spots. But, you know, that's kind of what you put up with when you do this stuff. Is the better the lighting you have, the better that, you know, your picture is going to look. And even then, you know, post-production still has some color correction and some other effects that you can add in order to make it look 10 times better than the raw file does. Which leads me to one of the big changes in the course of the last couple of years is I did end up buying some track lighting. And this basically is just meant to light these back corners over here. And the reason I did that is because some of the older videos, these corners were really, really dark. And there's this phenomenon that happens in digital video where if you don't have enough light, you start to see this little flickering bit. They call it noise. It's really just that. It looks like noise. So you just see these little fuzzies going on in these dark corners. So my focus over the course of the last couple years has been to really light this place up. And you can see just with all that, and this still isn't enough. I have to be honest with you guys, it's still not enough. I'm actually considering getting another part of that track lighting and putting it up there so that the track lighting is just all shining down in this pathway right here. Now, I have these guys. These are made by a company called Cockeyed Acoustics, and these are bass traps, which when you're working in a studio, low-end frequencies and bass frequencies have a tendency to collect in corners, and that can oftentimes not paint a very accurate picture of your mix. So in order to combat that, you have bass traps in the corners, and these were very affordable. I was very surprised. We found them at NAMM. They're made in the US. There's not a whole lot of bad chemically stuff, and they work really, really well. I've been very happy with it. In fact, the other panels on the side of the wall come from the same company, and they work great. Very happy with it. For the price that we paid, the quality of the product is outstanding. So if you're looking for any acoustic treatment and don't want to spend a whole lot of money, check out Cockeyed Acoustics. So one thing that I did do over the course of the last couple of weeks or last couple of months is I really tried to get the desk as clean and clear as possible. So I unplugged everything, including the legacy drive and the X1. Hey, look, it's Inception. That was fun. So I unplugged everything, cleaned everything under here out, or at least I tried to, so that I could have a clear path from in front of the desk, behind the desk, and be able to access everything here on the amplifier shelf. Got my surge protector right here. I have access to all the effects loop jacks, channel switch jacks, speaker outlets, mains inputs on both the rock reverb and the V3. And just the goal was to make it as clean as possible. Even going so far as to, you can see it's still kind of a rat's nest up there, but all the cables end up going to this part right here of the desk, coming down nice, swoop. Everything has a little label here, so I know which cable goes into which input on the interface. Just something nice and simple, nice and flows, and I can track everything. I keep the speaker cable loose from the rest of the bundle. And then everything just runs along the side of the wall. And then, this is one of my more brilliant and time-consuming points of the cable management. Now, since we live in like a normal, whatever, suburb home, I did not want to punch a hole in the wall to create a wall box. So instead, I just very carefully laid all the cabling flat so that I could close both the blue room's door and the green room's door. And even with the carpet flooring in the blue room, everything lays nice and flat so that you can close both doors and you're not going to have any issues. Admittedly, it's pretty low tech, but it works. And that's half the challenge, is getting this stuff to work. So now that I've kind of given you guys an idea of like what the space is like, let's talk a little bit about the specifics here. Go back to the desk. Now, the interface. PreSonus Studio 192, PreSonus Digimax DP88, essentially an 8-in 192K 24-bit interface, hooked up with ADAT to get 8 more channels in. 16 inputs into multitrack, into Pro Tools. And I run Pro Tools. I've run Logic in the past, but I've worked in Pro Tools longer. I'm most comfortable with it, so I'm using that. Computer is a Mac Mini. That's the super drive on top for discs. Using Focal CMS50 monitors, probably one of the most true monitor sets that I've ever heard. And then any outboard preamps, we have the Avalon VT737. API A2D, which is what I use for like 90% of the guitar stuff that I do. And then over here, this is the Universal Audio 710 Twinfinity, which has a transistor preamp and a tube preamp and allows you to blend between the two. Really cool piece of equipment. We just really did the research to figure out what was going to work best for us. What works best for us is not necessarily going to be what works the best for you, though. So big advice when it comes to pro audio purchases, because those are much more expensive than guitar purchases. Do as much research as you possibly can. Reference different articles and reviews as much as you can. Even look at stuff like recordings of yours. Try to find out what they were using to get those tones, because it makes all the difference. So now that we got that, I'm gonna try to not ruin our stream here. I'm gonna take it very gently out of the selfie stick. I hate these things, but I got that for free, so I'm happy about that at least. Gonna put this on the tripod. All right, this is a little bit more comfortable. And I'll kind of talk to you guys about what it is that goes into a typical day. So I've been shooting demos over the course of the last couple days. I shot 6 videos, so 3 a day. And boy, those days are long. First and foremost, everything starts with getting the pedals in. So surprise, surprise, I have a couple new pedals here. We have the Keeley DDR, which I'm really, really enjoying. And then we have this, the Keeley Fuzzbender, which you cannot see. So, first thing that comes to mind when getting everything is obviously getting everything, but then it comes down to the old composition notebook. And essentially what I'll do after spending a few hours with each pedal that I get in is I'll just kind of make up a little basic outline for myself. The idea for what segments of the demo need to be filmed, a basic run order of how I'm going to shoot things, and then, you know, kind of what maybe, if any, notes that I might need to any notes that I might need to make over the course of a few different demos. Then I'll just keep this handy. You know, I'm very analog in that way with just having the notebook here. I just like to leave it right down on the floor next to me. One of the key things that makes this workflow for me so helpful is the cameras. Now, what I have been using for the better part of, the last 3 years has been this. This is the Canon XC10. I almost said the name of my studio monitors, but this is the XC10. What I love about this is it's essentially a 4K prosumer camcorder. Looks kind of like a DSLR or a digital photography camera, but it's more about the camcorder capabilities of this. Essentially, on one empty SD card, I can record up to 4 hours worth of footage without having to take anything off of the SD card. But it also has the 4K cards, which unfortunately can only get me about 45 minutes. So most of the stuff I shoot is in 1080, so full HD. I haven't gotten to the point of shooting in 4K yet because the 4K cards are quite expensive and I don't have that kind of money. So I got 2 of those running, main cam and pedal cam. We can actually pan over and see the pedal cam. So that's the way the pedal cam set up. And preview here, you got the Nux Cerberus, which I'm hoping to have ready for this Saturday. Camera straight right down on the stomping block. And yes, this is the official stomping block, people. This is what the pedals sit on. This is the stomping block. And what is it? If I pan down more, it's a studio monitor. It's one of the Carvin SRS8 studio monitors that I got sent to do a promo video for them. And I've listened to it and I've used it as an actual speaker and it sounds really good, but I don't have a pair of them. So I need to do something with it. And it just so happens that it actually sits at the perfect height for a pedal to be at with this particular stool. So basically all I do is I'll take the pedal, place it on the stomping block. Let's actually grab something different. Take away the Cerberus. Guys, a little look at that again. So let's take the Fuzzbender. And one of the things that I like to make sure is that the pedal stays still. I have this little pile right here. This I had to take off today in order to do it. But it's essentially nothing more than dual lock. So what I'll do is I'll put a little strip on the top, put a little strip on the bottom, then I'll usually have a line on the stomping block for the other side. This might not work out so well. There we go. Just put a little bit down. There we go. And then I'll line it up very, very carefully. Now, one of the handy things on the camera is that I have a grid on the screen that I can look at. So what I'll end up doing, if I get the strap out of the way, zoom in to the appropriate zoomage, I guess I could say. And I'll position it on the screen as straight as I possibly can think. But then I'll reference the grid as a way of making sure that all my stuff is straight. And when it is, I'll go ahead and I'll focus up and get ready to go. Now I do have to have more lighting on the pedals. This lighting right here isn't enough, and some of the track lighting makes the pedal be overexposed. So I have this little camera light, it's LED, that I have going full on here. And I can adjust, you know, the white or blue to red light balance or orange light, I can select how much of that light I really want on. And then I have the screen up there to reference. And one of the other handy things about the cameras is that I also have the ability to have a browser remote. So, wow, check this out. Me streaming this being seen on that. That's just wild. But this essentially is a browser remote that allows me to see exactly what the main camera sees for the demos. And I can adjust all kinds of different parameters on here for the exposure, the aperture, all that stuff, and can even stop and start recording on this. And then I'll often use it. It's a little bit latent, so it's not entirely the greatest thing in the world, but it doesn't matter. What matters is I need to know if the camera stops or starts for any reason, and this is a very easy way to do it. This essentially was all born out of the increasing workload of doing demos. And it used to be that my wife would be up here with me. She'd be running cameras and keeping tabs on everything. Back when we were just using one XC10 and a DSLR camera, and it just got to a point where she was spending way too much time up here. It was taking time away from other things that she needed to do or that she wanted to do. So we bought another XC10. I don't have to worry about it. Just clear off the cards and everything should be fine. Now, everything else is pretty self-explanatory in terms of the way that things go around here. My guitars are right over here so that they're easily accessible, and that if I want to use a different one throughout the videos, they're there and I don't have to worry. I keep the amps really close by. I tend to sit pretty close to them so I can just reach over, change the channel on the rock reverb, or turn it on and off. And to standby, I can make any adjustments to the clean channel. The controls are all right here. The pedal baby also sits right up here. On off switch, power, bass, treble. So it's very easy to make adjustments to the amplifier at the same time as I'm listening. So how am I listening? Because let's face it, if I'm recording with my vocal microphone, which is a AKG C414 with the pop filter on, if I'm going to be recording guitar, I don't want any of that to be heard in the vocal mic. I want my vocal mic to be as clear as possible. That is where my in-ear monitors come in very, very handy. These are Ultimate ears, which I've had for many, many years. They work great. That one fell out of its connection because it's a little bit broken. So I'm gonna have to try to see about getting that fixed. But I plug in hardwired to the interface out of one of the headphone outs. Just have a simple TRS cable coupler, 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch converter, and boom. Just run a headphone feed out to that, and I'm good to go. I can monitor everything, and everything is very easy to reach. Everything is very easy to monitor, and I don't really have to do a whole lot other than play, and that's getting to be like the hardest part of doing these things. Because you don't want to play the same thing over and over again. You don't want the examples that you provide to be stale. You want them to, be something cool, and that's something that people are going to want to listen to. So, all in all, I've gotten to a point where things are really easy to operate, really easy to manipulate, really easy to get up and going in a very quick time. I'd say the thing that takes the most time is actually the lighting, because the lighting can change absolutely on a dime. It's unreal how lighting can change when you don't want it to change. I have a really hard time with it, but it's just something that I have to practice. Also, because of the directionality, that's a nice fancy word for you, of the way the light falls, I often have to worry about shadows. So, like, I have the fan going right now, you can actually see the shadow of it going right back here. That shadow is in every video, but because it can be so distracting, I have to turn the fan off. And this room, with because it's as small as it is, and because it doesn't have a very good like HVAC to come here from the air conditioning, this room gets really, really hot. So if you look very, very closely in a few videos, you might see me dripping in sweat. Yeah, that ceiling fan makes me dizzy too, Brian. So, you know, imagine me like hours on end looking at that thing in the monitor and then editing the video. There are videos that it has accidentally gotten through, and God, it's annoying. Oh, it is so annoying. Um, yeah, it's not cool. One of the other little cool things, of course, that I mentioned in the expression pedal video is the mission, which I often use just as a footrest because I like the way that it just keeps my leg nice at a nice right angle, keeps the guitar from sliding forward and everything like that. It's just all around, it's a good thing to have. I've just really tried to make it as simple as possible to make pedal demos. For every type of video, it tends to change just ever so slightly, but for the most part, it's all working. I'm enjoying it for the most part. So let's go back down to the chat. Let's see who else has joined us. We got 13 people watching right now. I see Brian Coate. We still got Aaron. We still got Ben. Got Brian Landreth here. Jay Steen, how you doing, buddy? Brian Coate, thank you so much for joining in. Dwight's still kicking here with us. Chris Burnett stopping in to say hello. Chris, thank you for saying hello. Happy to have you here. What else we got going on? I think we're almost at... Nope, there we go. All right. Usual suspects here, man, but not a lot of you wanting to show your face. Come on, let us know that you're here. Leave a comment. Tell us what's going on. And if you have any questions, now's the time. So I'm going to dive into the chat and see what you guys are saying. Brian Coate has a really good question about the pedal baby. It's, do I recommend it for the Helix? Brian, in all honesty, I have not even played a large Helix or an HX Stomp or anything like that. But if I had to guess, it would probably do really well. The pedal baby, which I'll be filming a video for that within the coming month or so, it's a really nice, neutral sounding power amp that doesn't overemphasize too many frequencies. It also doesn't feel like it has too much of its own character. It provides some really true representations of what you plug into it. So I think it's a good option. But if you want something that is going to be, you know, really compact, it's probably not the best thing. There are more compact power amps out there, but personally, I love it. You know, anything orange and me, we really get along. Keep on cruising, keep on cruising, keep on cruising, keep on cruising, keep on cruising. Brian, grow lights. Yes, because I'm growing here in the studio. Brian says, tonight I have Sean's voice on the phone over a Lawler Blackface single coil into a JHS Unicorn Love Pedal Jubilee carbon copy and Sean's tone print on the Hall of Fame too. Sean sounds pretty trippy. You need to send me audio of that. I want to hear that. All right. There you go. Glistening Cabana. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. All right, Greg Burkhart. If the Fuzz Face and the Big Muff and the Mark II are the holy trinity of fuzz tones, why aren't there more Mark II clones? Why aren't there more Mark II clones? I would have to hazard a guess that Mark II's position in the holy trinity is the more debatable of the three slots, because it kind of occupied one particular era of music. You know, hearing a Mark II tone bender really just makes people think of psychedelic rock. Um, yeah, it just, I think that's why. It just makes people think of one type of music, whereas the fuzz face and the big muff have been used across their history by many different guitar players, from rock to blues, you know, metal and alternative styles of music. So the fuzz face and the big muff find their way into more music than, say, a Mark II tone bender. That doesn't mean that they're not good. Uh, if that's the Holy Trinity, that's the Holy Trinity, and that's pretty awesome. So that's gonna be my answer, Greg. I hope that makes some sense. Yeah. Got a question from Aaron. I assume you match the audio from Pro Tools with the video footage from your camera. Can you talk a bit about editing recorded audio versus video later? Well, I'll go ahead and answer that right now. The first and foremost thing that you need is you need something called a sync point. You need it to be short, you need it to be loud, and you need it to be abrupt. And what better way to do that than my Souvenir Universal Studios clapboard? Ow. Yeah, that actually really hurt. So that's essentially what I do. It's right when I start rolling, I slate up and I say exactly what the video is, and I just make one big old loud clap. That gets picked up by the vocal microphone and recorded into Pro Tools. Now there's an easy way that goes into doing it to put my stuff together, and that is when I start editing in my video editing software, which I use Premiere. It's what I started using when I first got it going, and it's just been what I stuck with, and I really like it. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that, because I think it would be fun. Just got to wait for Premiere to, you know, warm up and whatnot. It probably doesn't want to warm up. I'm going to try to... Ah, there we go. Okay. Go to one of the recent videos. All right. So, here is the project for... No, I don't want to do a render. That's going to take way too long. Here's a project for one of the recent videos. I believe this was the Sonic Cake. No, that's the Fuzzly Bear. So last week's video. So how exactly do I get the audio to video together? Well, a lot of it's over here. So what I'll do is I have the pedal cam and I have the main cam in the project browser. Double click on the clip that I want to sync to the audio, which is normally the main cam. Drag it all the way to the beginning, and then simply press play. The video is going to go by, and I'm going to get to the point where finally I pick up the clapboard and I slate. Now, before I do the clap, I stop the video. Then I can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to go 1, 2, 3, 4, ba da da da, and then there's the first clap. Now that's the initial attack of it, but I need to, there's a little bit of a weird latency thing that tends to happen because of the way that I edit. So I go for that more sustained point of the sound wave, that second instance of noise. You usually want to go with the loudest, but I find that this works best for me. And then I press the I key on the keyboard, and that creates an in point for me. drag that into the project timeline, and then go to the audio clip. Now, usually what I'll do is I'll edit the audio to only have that point as my start. So I'll just click play and do the same thing. KMA Fuzzly Bear. Stop it. Press the I key and then drag that into the timeline. That way the main cam's in point is the same as the audio's in point. So they're immediately lined up when I go in to start editing the video in Premiere. It's a very simple thing. I know some people that will actually do it in Pro Tools, because Pro Tools you can actually have a non-locking grid, so it just slips freeform and you can find exactly the point where things line up. I also have a software plugin that helps me line up things as well. But personally, that's an easy way for me to do it, and so I do it. A lot of the things that I do to make these videos happen is all about making things easy for me, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. On average, I know somebody asked me this some time ago, on average I spend about, let's see, I would say 4 to 8 hours on a video, depending on the complexity of the product. I'll usually spend about an hour to 3 hours sometimes with a pedal. Just, again, it's a complexity thing. With the Cerberus, I spent like quite a lot of time with it, weeks, even a couple months, just to make sure that I really got the gist of it. And I'm not doing it like every single day, just like when I felt like I could fit it in, when I felt like I had the time. And then formulating the outline of the demo is pretty easy. The stuff that I did today, I literally just did last night so that I could just kind of not feel like I had this huge workload on my hands, something that I just jump into it, have fun with it, don't worry too much about it. Because you can overwork yourself very easily with this stuff, and that's not a good thing. So yeah, that's basically what happens here on any given day that I shoot demos. It's shooting demos is an interesting thing. Part of the behind the scenes is to understand that first and foremost, here's one of the reasons why we're doing it on a live stream. One, because if I were to do a really nice video of this, it would take a lot of time to do, and it's not time that I necessarily have. So I figured, let's just talk about it, and that way if you guys have questions, you can just ask me right now, and you can decide whether or not whether or not you want to ask anything, or if this is interesting or not. When everything comes together, it depending on the video, it is very rewarding. One of the things that I tell people when they ask me about advice of starting a channel or doing this kind of stuff is just, are you really prepared? And a lot of guys aren't. They come in with their iPhone rigs at NAMM, and they want to act like they're going to start a YouTube channel, and that's just that's not enough, you know. I've been regularly doing this now for about 6 years. I've had my channel for almost 10. In fact, this summer we'll be celebrating 10 years of my YouTube channel. But it takes a lot of work. There's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of technical know-how. And there's a lot of product know-how. And then on top of that, you have to play the guitar, which on certain days is more inspiring than others. Today was a bit difficult. I wasn't too happy with everything I played, but I still feel like the videos are going to turn out really well. I think they're going to be a good batch of 6 videos. There's a lot to look forward to, and I'm really stoked on it. Ben says, I'm sticking with my iPhone rig for now. There is a lot of work involved, definitely. But one of the things that is cool about the iPhone is that the picture quality in and of itself is actually pretty good. iPhones nowadays can shoot in 4K, which is pretty amazing. And then I have that iRig that I plugged in a couple times for some recent live streams, and it gets good audio, into the iPhone, which I'm very excited about, and it's a lot of fun. So that's kind of what I do. There's not a whole lot about this to say other than, there's good days and there's bad days. Editing is a little bit easier because once you have you just use you be more discerning about it, learn to edit yourself, learn to maybe be more critical of your own performances, and eventually you'll come to a workflow that just really really works for you. Luckily for me, with everything that I have in my workflow, the way that it's all set up, it has been working. But one problem is that if you do it long enough, like I've been doing, at a certain point you get to the idea of, I don't feel like nearly as creatively fulfilled by these things. And so you want to try to change something, and you want to try to experiment, recently getting this Bjorn Galat Les Paul from Epiphone, that's something new to experiment with, and that's something new to move forward with. It's officially part of the collection, so it's definitely going to get used. It got used quite a bit over the course of the last couple days, so it's going to be definitely in some more videos. And then not only that, I got to do a demo video of that. But having said all that, I've done this for 6 years. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do differently. There's a lot that I want to do to make the creation process of it a little bit more creative for me, something a little bit more that fulfills my artistic goals and my heart and can challenge me in a way. So with that having been said, and then I'll get back to the chat and I'll start talking about you and addressing some of the questions that you've been asking again. After this round of 6 demos, I'm going to be taking a little time off from doing pedal demos. We're going to focus on some other things. We're going to focus on some new video ideas, like the songwriting videos and the Guitarist Guide to Bass videos that I've been wanting to start since basically the beginning of the year. So we're going to focus on those things over the course of the summer mainly, and then once fall comes back in, I'll be back doing pedal videos more in earnest again. And doing them more regularly. There will be sporadic pedal videos coming throughout the summer, but they're not going to be a huge, almost every week thing. Going to need to take some time away from it, fine-tune the format a little bit, and make it, just a little bit more fun for myself. This is the last couple. I think a couple guys have said so much in a lot of the videos that maybe it feels like I've been a little burnt out recently, and I have been. It's been a little bit of a burnout. You sit in front of these lights and you're gonna burn eventually, am I right? So it's just gonna be a good opportunity for me to take stock of the creative side of things and try to come up with something new. Maybe I'll be able to finally do some produced tracks like some of the other guys are doing with my own little spin on it. Spend some time practicing guitar, for one thing, would be something I'd be really looking forward to. I've just decided I really am uncomfortable playing sitting down. I just don't really enjoy it. So I want to strap a guitar on. I want to stand, and I want to rock out, and I want to play. So if there's a way that I can incorporate that and like really get into the playing and the creation of the music, then I'm going to do it. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So stay tuned for that. We'll still be doing the live shows, of course, so I'll update you guys on the progress. Let's go ahead and take a look at everybody in the chat. There's been a couple things that have been coming in recently. Brian saying editing doesn't sound fun to me. It doesn't start out being fun, but once you lock in on what your way of doing it is, and once you lock in on how you like things to go and how you like them to look, it actually, once you start discovering new things to make things better in the editing process, it gets pretty fun. It's like a secondary, it's like a second coat of paint, you know? Greg has a question. I imagine it's harder to demo a pedal you don't like. Any thoughts on that? Greg, I've actually addressed this a couple times, but I don't know how long you've been following the channel. So, simply put, I don't waste my time. If I don't like a pedal, I don't demo it. Obviously, that can lead to some rather weird dealings with certain companies. But lucky for me, I have not had many things over the course of the last few years that have come in that I haven't enjoyed. Certainly, I've enjoyed things more than others. But case in point today, I shot 2 fuzz pedal demos. I had the fuzz bender that I shot, as well as another fuzz pedal from a relatively unknown company. But I certainly can sense, like, there's a bit of a, like, beginner's, novice, like, young company aesthetic to the one pedal, and the Keeley, the fuzz bender, is just highly refined. This is a pedal made by someone and a team of people that absolutely know what they're doing, have known what they're doing for a very long time, and continue to do things very, very well. So, you know, it is really hard when you encounter something that you don't like, because it is so few and far between. And then the worst part about it is when you have to go to the company and say that you don't like it, because you're unsure of how they're going to take it. Aaron asking a question: what's a typical conversation understanding you have with companies regarding turnaround on demos? I know some are timed. Walrus comes to mind. Yes, Walrus definitely, whenever they reach out to me, we always come to an agreement on, or they usually have a date or a deadline in which they want the video to be ready by or to come out. The last pedal that I got from them, which was the Monument, no, the Slow. I couldn't have the video ready the day that they wanted it to be ready, but I still said I want to demo it. You know, I love getting your guys' stuff, so you know, I'll definitely film a video and I'll try to release it around the release day. And so I did that, and it turned out really, really good. I like the pedal. I think it's a lot of fun. If there's any sort of necessary deadline, that's just something that we have to establish and has to be brought up early in the process and in the talks. Doing the Matthews videos, the basic idea was, let's start putting those videos up the day that the new line launches. And then I just suggested to Rick, why don't we just release one every other day? It timed out to be from Saturday to Saturday, and it worked, and I was happy with it. I'm still happy with those videos. They turned out really good, and hey, I like the pedals a lot, so that's good. I would say that turnaround time is the least of the concerns. Usually the most concerning thing for companies is how much are they paying you, or are they going to pay me? So that's something to consider, and I don't always get paid. Jay is asking, do you know any good video editing programs for beginner video editing on PC? Jay, that's a good question. I don't run PCs really at all anymore, so I don't know any off the top of my head. Quick Google search will probably help you out in that respect. But you might be able to access... Let's see, would you be able to access anything? iMovie's on, you know, Mac stuff. Yeah, I don't actually know. I'd have to get back to you on that, because I don't actually have an answer. I'm sorry. I wish I did. Brian's commenting, that's a pretty big investment, but the tools of any trade are expensive. They really are. Look at a mechanic and his snap-on toolbox. Yep. Indeed. As long as you don't go Mad Queen all of a sudden, I don't think that that's going to happen. Oh, boy. Oh, Brian, that's a really nice compliment. Thank you so much. The one thing that isn't even questionable is your integrity on your demos. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that. That's kind of the, that's the really big thing. That's the really big thing, is integrity above all else. Integrity and honesty. That's what this whole thing has got to be. It's really hard to fake things these days. Honesty, transparency, that's what you got to have. Did I miss anything? No? Nope. I got through everything. Awesome. So that's a little taste of what goes on behind the scenes. It probably wasn't as detailed as it could have been, but just kind of wanted to give you guys a little go around the studio, a little tour, kind of share with you some of the thoughts and the ideas that pop into my head when I'm doing these demo videos for you that aren't these live shows. At the end of the day, just know this. Putting together a really good demo of a pedal is not the easiest task in the world, because there are so many people doing it. How can you do it in your own unique way? I think I've hit on something that really, allows me to express myself in a certain way. But at the same time, you want to be a little bit free flow. You don't want to be too, rigid in everything that you do, and you want to be free and whatnot. But I enjoy doing this, even though it can be incredibly frustrating at times to arrange to get stuff, to have to get to know a product, to have to shoot it, to have to edit it, have to upload and do all the crazy metadata stuff for it. But this is a cool gig. It's not the most lucrative in the world yet. Maybe it'll be lucrative in the future, but you gotta like it first and foremost. And if you like it, then you like it. And I'm seeing some people come in, and we're round about the end of my time. My voice is starting to go, so I gotta drink more water. So, on that note, let's talk about the future. So, obviously there's going to be some new ideas. I touched on it a little bit earlier that, I shot 6 weeks worth of pedal demos over the course of the last couple days. So you'll be seeing that roll out over the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. And then after that, we're going to take a little bit of break from the pedals. Not going to be as fast and as hard and as heavy as they have been all year, just because I want to start focusing on some new ideas. So starting in the summer, you're going to definitely see videos on how to write a song from the guitar player's perspective with more of a practical approach rather than just an academic approach. I'm really excited about that because songwriting is something that really, that's what I do. I write songs, and that's what I like about guitar. I also like being a good player, but I like to write songs. And then also the Guitarist Guide to Bass. I've been trying to practice my bass a little bit more. Trying to also, I'm going to eventually have to record some bass tracks for myself, which is fun. I'm not even going to talk about that. That's for another time. Hey, McDingus. You write the songs that make McDingus sing. Oh, yeah. I'd like to hear some McDingus singing. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting into playing bass again. Love this Warwick bass that I've had, so we're going to talk about gear in terms of how a guitarist can find the right bass for them, all kinds of stuff related to the bass guitar. Other than that, there will be a few sporadic pedal demos throughout the summer, but I'm really looking forward to doing some new things in the summer. Take a little bit of break from the normal pedal stuff, and just hope that you guys will continue to join me for that ride and for that journey as we start getting into some new stuff, some new creative ideas, And hopefully we can really end this year with a bang. I would love to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of, well, I would love to reach 5,000 subscribers by June 15th, which is my wife's and mine anniversary. So if I could reach 5K subscribers by that date, we both would be really happy. Somebody asked to show the Warwick. I'm going to go grab that. That's cool, huh? It's really, really sick. Just a really killer bass. Yeah, just all kinds of cool stuff. So we'll be focusing on how you guitar players can actually, you know, take this 4-stringed cousin of ours like that. Terry, get your mind out of the gutter. So it'll be interesting to kind of apply our guitarist sensibilities to our 4-string cousin and just have a lot of fun with it. Yep, all that kind of good stuff. McDingus, I love this color too. Matte, deep sea blue, something like that. Just a great feeling bass. I'm really excited about this bass series. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wait, hold on. Evan, I accidentally blocked one of your comments, but it was actually a funny comment, so I apologize. There's nothing against you. I just clicked the wrong button. But yeah, it's just got a great, like, ringing bell-like tone to it, which is just, it's a characteristic of Warwick basses that I've always loved, and the fact that I have this relationship with Warwick and Framus where I can check out some instruments and be able to add some to my own personal arsenal, I'm very excited about. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of the new ideas we're going to be exploring over the summer. Definitely going to try to get to the LA Amp show in the fall. But yeah, if we can get to 5K subscribers by June 15th, I know I would love that. I think my wife would appreciate it too, because she knows how much goes into doing these videos for you guys, and I know she wants it to succeed as much as I do. On that same day, we're going to be launching the Patreon full on with like a full straight 100% like right out of the gate launch. So we are definitely going to be hitting that hard and heavy. Really want to push that, working on some new ideas for it, some new perks, some exclusive content if you join up. So if you want to preview that, you can actually go to the Patreon page right now, which is patreon.com/SeanPierceJohnson. You can check out the tiers. Give me some feedback, and if you want to join up for it, go for it, because even right now, early adopters, I'll be throwing up some exclusive content before the full-on launch. So if you want to be one of the first to help us get to some of those goals, that would be greatly appreciated. Someone asked what the current count is. We're at 4861, which is pretty great. I don't remember what we were at the other day, but as of right now, it says 4861, which I'm very excited about. Evan has a 5-string streamer. I like the streamers. Anyway, enough of that noise. I'm excited about it. Please just stick around for the ride. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll be making some, we'll be making some fun videos. We'll be having some fun on these live shows. And please do help get those numbers up. If we can reach 5K by June 15th, I got some stuff lying around that I might be inclined to give away to some of you lucky folks out there. So for the time being, thank you all so much for joining in on the show tonight. I know it was a little bit of a different idea and a little different format than the usual live show, but I wanted to do something a little bit different today and something a little bit special. Stay tuned. This Saturday, the Nux Cerberus demo will be up, so we'll be talking about that. More awesome stuff to come. We'll keep you all posted on the impending Patreon launch. We'll be keeping you updated through all sorts of manners of social media, new video ideas, new stuff coming through. We're just going to have some fun. Going to try to work on getting some special things rolling. And for now, my friends, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm getting a little tired right now, so I'm going to call it quits. So I'll see you all this Saturday for Stompbox Saturday. And until then, I wish you guys great tone and happy stomping. Cheers.